Okay. Take two. I just spoke for about a minute and realized I wasn't recording. So, here we go. My name's Clowdy, and I have been immersing in Korean very, I would say, effectively and kind of extremely, depending on your measurement, for 3 months now. So in learning Korean, I use the Mass Immersion Approach, and the Mass Immersion Approach is, as the name would suggest, all about getting lots of input and immersion in the target language that you're wanting to learn as much as possible, and also studying grammar and learning vocab words. And it's something that kind of it revolves around the input and immersion to kind of glue things together and get a lot of time spent with the target language. So for me, that means Korean, and I've been able to immerse super heavily. And I'll talk a little bit about my last month doing this. Well, I guess first, before I go into that, I should say I did learn Korean a little bit. I started getting the basics for a month and a half before I started doing Mass Immersion, and it was a little bit fruitful. I learned the basics, the very basics. I got through one level of Talk to Me in Korean. And I started learning Anki a few weeks before I started Mass Immersion. So obviously, if you look into the MIA, using Anki is like a huge part of it, and I would recommend it for anybody learning a language or learning anything really. If you have to memorize a bunch of small snippets. But anyway, I've been learning for 3 months now with this, with some change before. But the immersion part has been really interesting. It's kind of the glue that holds everything together. So it allows you to do all of this language learning without outputting, without speaking, without writing, and only with the repetition of listening thousands of hours do you progress through your comprehension and your understanding. The last month of Korean, what that has been like is basically something that it's just like a regular part of my life. It's become when I wake up, it's the first thing I think about, and it's really easy to think about when it's playing. As soon as I wake up, I turn on a bit of Korean, and that is in the morning. Oftentimes it's YouTube. YouTube has been like a huge source of immersion for me, just as like when I want something playing, but I know I'm not going to be really listening at all. So for that first 15 minutes that I'm up, I'm just going to be waking up, So I turn it on right when I get up, and I get ready for work. And I'll get to that a little bit later. But and then while I'm at work, I can actually listen to my Galaxy Buds. I can keep one in my ear the entire time while I work. So it's 8 hours of listening, and I do a lot of repetitive tasks at work, so I'm not really needing a lot of mental focus for what I'm doing. The most of the focus I have to do is making sure things look tidy and neat. It's a very physical-based, spatial, I guess, sort of thing. I'm stocking the shelves in the produce section, and and so it's really not demanding on my brain at all. So it allows me to listen to these sources of Korean language all day at work. But anyway, this past month has been really interesting. My level of comprehension has gotten to a point where all of the basic things that I learned in the first 2 months, and then the month before I started MIA, it feels so concrete. It feels like a foundation. I feel like I finally built a firm foundation of understanding. There's a great number of things already that I just instantly know, and without even trying to translate or anything, it's just right there. That's like the visceral, that's the most important part about the massive input, mass input. It feels massive to me just because it's such a huge part of my routine now. Even when I get home, that's when I spend time watching more actively shows. And then also reading is part of that. So, this video has been a little bit all over the place, but and I hope you'll like the the new location I'm shooting in. I'm shooting in my front yard. Watching people walk their dogs, and of course it's right after sunset. It was a really hot day, but right now it feels nice and cool. There's just a subtle breeze. It feels so nice out here. So it's nice to be able to sit out here and record this video. Let me get back to my day. So, what are the big changes that happened this month from previous months? The first month, I was just trying to build the habits, right? I wanted to immerse as much as possible. The second month, I wanted to sort of fine-tune my process and figure out Anki, figure out the subs to SRS, taking a show and its subtitles and creating an Anki deck just from all of the lines of dialogue in the show. That was my second month. My third month now, I've begun to read, and that has been a combination of two things. I've been getting more time with grammar because I switched recently to the Korean grammar in use, and that has a lot more sample sentences than the Talk to Me in Korean. But then the second source has been the Yonsei Reader. There's a couple of people in the Discord who have been really kind of major proponents of that. One of them is Retro, and the other one is Giga. And then other people have also picked up on it and started it and found it really helpful. In the first 2 months, I found it too difficult to get much into reading, and so I felt like it was enough at the time to just focus on input, focus on my routine, and then get the reading practice in doing my grammar studies and the sample sentences and the Anki sentences, the vocabulary sentences, as well as the grammar sentences that I put into Anki. So that's reading a small amount, but altogether maybe 15-20 minutes a day, and that was enough to slowly pick up my reading ability, to make it comfortable to read all the syllables, sound things out, although I don't physically sound it out, but get the sound in my head. So the reading has been huge, and that's actually carried over a little bit to, I've begun also adding a little bit of subtitle reading while I watch shows. So sometimes I'm watching it without subs, just raw, and other times I'm watching it with subtitles. For instance, I'm watching Ni no Kuni. I just started it a couple of days ago. I've been watching it in pieces. It's just a 2-hour movie on Netflix, I think. Watching the Korean dub. The subtitles don't match, so I'm just watching it with listening and following the story. And the animations are great. It's a pretty good quality show. Oh geez, I thought that was a bee. I'm kind of a wuss when it comes to bees. I'm a little allergic, so Anyway, Ni no Kuni has been pretty good. I feel like I understand a lot more than I was expecting to. And then I'm also watching a lot of web dramas made for YouTube and VLive and Naver. Is it Naver TV? Naver Video? I don't know. Whatever the Naver video player is. Anyway, they release them on all these platforms, so it's really accessible, and that has been the absolute bread and butter of what it is that I do. I listened to some of these shows so many times, and then I made I made subs to SRS decks out of all of these web dramas, and that enabled me to make condensed audio, taking out all of the spaces that people aren't talking, and then scrunch all of the audio up together, so it's just concentrated dialogue from these web dramas. And I've just been going at it, listening to. There's a couple of them I listen to like every other day, just filling throughout my time at work. And so like I know. I knew I was getting to the point where I was picking up, I'm knowing all the rhythm of all of the scenes. I know what's going on. I recognize I can be listening at work, half listening, and then listen back to it, and know exactly what's going on because I recognize the, even if I don't recognize all the exact words or know all of the content, I just know like the sounds and the words that I do know and where it is in the story. So that has been, the bread, like just absolute core of my immersion. So all of that has been great. I feel like I've got my Anki pretty well. I've got my sentences, my grammar sources. I've begun doing Korean grammar and use. It's great. I recommend it to anybody. Talk to me in Korean is, I think, probably really good for starting because it's all really bite-sized things and you can copy paste easily. It's a very quick way to get your feet in and get going. But yeah, one of the other things I wanted to talk about is okay, so I read this book a while ago, last year actually, called The Power of Habit by Charles Duhigg. And one of the concepts, let me check my mic, yeah. One of the concepts is a keystone habit, right? And the ability to change your habits if you can find one habit that is like naturally going to affect all of the others. And Korean learning for me has been that keystone habit. 3 months now of immersing and doing Anki every day has led to some things that I kind of never would have expected. I've always managed to sort of get up, when I need to go to work, no matter how early it is, even if it was really tough. But I've never been the type of person to wake up earlier than I needed to. And this has led to occasionally getting not very much sleep because I tend to stay up. But recently I decided how important it was for me to be able to wake up and take care of Anki and some immersion and getting some vocab words set for the day in the morning, just because of, and then also studying some grammar in the morning. My mind is just so much more receptive to this. It sticks. I feel like it's more clear. It's nice to get those things out of the way before you go out throughout the rest of the day, because I feel like I already accomplished something. And it became such an important thing to me to do that I started doing everything that I could to get on top of it. I started limiting my computer time late at night, and an hour before I want to go to bed at 9:30, I am turning. I have Flux on my computer. It's a red light filter program, and I turn it I crank it all the way down as far as it will go, so my screen is just uncomfortably red and orange. But I feel a sort of subtle relaxation and drifting start to happen when I turn that down, and I turn off, like, I like to study and be alert with some really like natural daylight temperature, like colored lighting in my room. I really enjoy that for like staying alert and focused. But I turn all of that off and just have smaller lights in the distance that are very warm colors. Yeah, because it's the blue colors that you don't want at late at night. So I started doing that and getting a hold of it. Just going to bed, even if my mind was going, just starting that habit. And I've been able to get, able to get much more sleep, which has helped my language learning immensely. And obviously that's something that helps everything. You want to sleep. So that's the first thing that has happened that is important. And the other thing that has happened is I have begun to see my own passion for what it is that I'm doing and how important it is for me to be involved with the community and be involved with other people who are learning Korean, as well as using it as a way to express myself and a way to reach out to people. It's no surprise to people in the Discord that I spend a lot of time there, and I like to say hello to every person who comes into the Discord. It's not an accident. I'm genuinely very curious about every person who comes in there. You know, I want to help people get those first couple of steps going, because I feel like anybody can move themselves along, but there are some people who just, for whatever reasons, for wherever they came from in life before doing this, that there are certain struggles that they're going to have that are different than other people. And finding a simple way to approach the very start, the first couple of steps, is the most important part. That's what's going to make or break it for people. If they can't find a comfortable starting spot, that's what led me to MIA. I knew all of this stuff wasn't working for me. Writing, journaling, copying sample sentences, doing vocab drills, grammar conjugation tables. That was like flashbacks to doing homework in high school. You know, fuck that. I don't want anything to do with that. But anyway, I'm really passionate about being more involved, and it's led to me, having brainstorming and coming up with fun ideas to try to increase my involvement without affecting very much my immersion time, because I do feel like I can get enough immersion to make it worthwhile to also spend some time and help new people and to get to know the community and to have fun and, help create resources for other people in the community. I've contributed to a lot of fun projects that a lot of us have had. The frequency lists project that we're trying, that a bunch of people were involved with, and making SRS decks for subdrama or for web dramas, as well as just the other dramas that I've watched, and sharing those, and creating the starter guide that I did. Anyway, I'm going on and on about this, but it's something that has been like really meaningful for me, unexpectedly. But I feel like it is. I'm really grateful for having found something that is such so enjoyable. It feels really fulfilling to be learning the language and going along in this journey with other people. So yeah, that's been the other big thing. And kind of the last thing I wanted to talk about is my thoughts towards the future, because I like to think about where I'm, imagine a place where I'd like to be a month from now, and it's because I'm not really one to like find and stick to hard plans and try to do everything I can to focus on that and get to that specific spot, because I've never been able to know where I want to be, even in a month, but I know I have good ideas about good things that I like doing that will land me in a better spot in a month, so that if I do know in a month, I'll be better prepared. That's where my head's at. And so I do have some ideas of stuff I want to do in the coming month, and that are not specific to the language learning, but that have been inspired by it and are related to it. So I don't want to go too much into the details, because I feel like I can go more into it as the month goes on. So maybe, I'm sure people who are watching this might stick around to see some updates about that in the future. For my language learning approach, what I really would like to be able to do is get through the Korean grammar and use beginner, and probably go back and finish level 6 of Talk to Me in Korean, and maybe do 7 and 8, and probably 9. I mean, I don't see why not. Just go through the last of them. And then go to the Korean grammar and use intermediate, all within the month. And I also want to be a little bit more strict about hitting my 10 words per day. And that's been part of the waking up early. So I want to hit those 10 words a day, because there's been some days where I haven't hit that. I've done like 5 or 8. So I think I could do more for that. And if I can do at least 10, and sometimes 11 or 12, I think I will be a little bit more happy about my level of vocabulary by the time my 4th month update comes around. The 2 peripheral things that I want to focus on that to me are language related and related to my process are reintroducing meditation in my life, for real this time. I've gone through different periods of time where I was doing it every day and not. And also getting back into my exercising habits, which sort of dwindled down when I started MIA. So just 15 minutes of each is really all I'm shooting for. 15 minutes of meditation, 15 minutes of exercise for the month. That and a little bit of working on these side projects, something like shooting this video. There's going to be more videos to come, I can tell you that. And also coming up with some more fun like ideas, ways to share my discoveries through learning Korean. So you're just focusing on a little bit of those each day. And I think that's going to land me in a pretty good spot come, 1 month from now. So I hope this wasn't too long. I tried to not make it very long, but I've utterly failed. I don't have any idea how long this is going to be, but I'm imagining something like 35 minutes. I didn't want it to be that long, but I got going and couldn't help it. So the sun's going down. I got to get back inside. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun, and I'm more pumped than ever, as usual. And I'm looking forward to the next month. So I will catch you guys later.